a lot of people made a lot of money being a technocrat. And so if you believe in if you understand Bitcoin and you're a technocrat, what you say is, Bitcoin is the world's dominant digital monetary network. That's what Cathie Wood just said on CNBC just today to Andrew Ross Sorkin. She said, hey, it's the world's greatest global monetary network and the first, and it's going to go to $600,000 to $1 million a coin. That's our base case. Technocrat. And then she went on to say, yeah, we like Tesla. We like technology, right? That's okay. Those people are great. Warren Buffett eventually bought Apple Computer. Carl Icahn eventually bought Apple Computer, right? Those people, once they buy, they'll hold. I started out as a technocrat, and I think anybody that understands technology says, well, it's 95% of the proof of work in the world, maybe more. It's absolutely dominant. The next closest thing is 1%. So it doesn't take a stretch to say Bitcoin is the digital monetary network destined to provide a digital monetary network to billions and billions and billions of people in the next 1 to 2 decades. And on that basis, it should go up by a factor of 100. It's bumpy. It's a turbulent transition. It's a rationalization of the industry. The industry's growing up, but it's long-term good for Bitcoin. And I think you can expect a lot of the crypto bros that got distracted. Maybe they took off their laser eyes. Maybe they loved Bitcoin between 2010 and 2016. I think they're coming back to Bitcoin from 2023 to 2030. And you're going to see there's going to be an avalanche of people returning to the fold, building on top of Bitcoin, and they're going to rediscover the roots of the crypto revolution.
What you see happening with Bitcoin prices today, rising to 30,000 in 48 hours and being the best performing asset of the year, is happening for a reason, and it may not be the one you think. There's a change in narrative happening as we speak that's taking Bitcoin to a whole new level. And if you understand it and position yourself the right way, this can be life-changing for you and your family. Here's the full explanation of what's happening and what's coming next.
Bitcoin's a rabbit hole, and when you start going down the rabbit hole, first you have to learn all about Bitcoin, and then you have to learn all about the block size wars. And then you have to learn about the history of the crypto industry. And somewhere along the way, I started studying Gary Gensler. I took his class at MIT. I went back and I watched every minute of 20 lectures at MIT. And then I started reading everything written by anybody. And as you know, I read all the lawsuits. I read the CFTC lawsuit. I read the Bittrex lawsuit. I read the Coinbase lawsuit, the Binance lawsuits, all of the legal judgments. And I listen to all the congressional testimony, like every minute, like everything that every congressperson or every senator has said about Bitcoin for the past 3 years.
This is true.
And then I talk to you about it. Okay, and so here's my opinion, right? First of all, in the beginning there was Bitcoin, and it was good. And there was a unit of account, and it was called BTC. And there was a network that could not be censored, and it was called Bitcoin. And then along came smart people that learned about Bitcoin, and they arrived to fix Bitcoin. I just heard about Bitcoin. I'm here to fix Bitcoin. And they divided into two factions. There are the people that heard about Bitcoin and wanted to help Bitcoin the hard way. And they worked on Lightning, and it took years from 2015, and they're still working on it 6, 7, 8 years later. And they worked on Bitcoin applications, and they worked on Bitcoin companies, and they worked very hard to raise millions and tens of millions and hundreds of millions and billions of dollars to buy Bitcoin. That's the hard way. And those people are in this room, and they're in the Bitcoin ecosystem, and that's Bitcoin and Lightning and Bitcoin maximalists and people that believe in Bitcoin. Then there's another group of people that heard about Bitcoin and they wanted to fix it. And they took the easy way. And the easy way is a few shortcuts. It was, I want to make money by copying Bitcoin. I want to compete with Bitcoin with a new token. I want to bank Bitcoin. I want to rehypothecate Bitcoin. I want to loan you money on Bitcoin. I want to generate yield on Bitcoin. I want to run a Bitcoin exchange. I want to offer you Bitcoin derivatives, and I want to create every other flavor of Bitcoin. And I got the new Bitcoin, the quantum resistant Bitcoin, and the energy efficient Bitcoin, and the faster, more beautiful Bitcoin with the crypto kitties on it. Okay, that's the other set, okay? That's crypto. Now, what's going on right now is that people, and I wanted to create the US dollar on a crypto rail, and I'm going to give you Bitcoin without volatility. And I'm going to give you a network, a crypto network that clears in 1 second, which is cheap and free. So what you see with the regulation right now is the regulators are saying, we're not comfortable with the stable coin. We're not comfortable with the crypto exchange. We're not comfortable with the crypto token. We're not comfortable with the shortcuts. We don't want you to do an ICO. We don't want a corporate coin. And the result of all of that is the crypto ecosystem, which in the beginning was Bitcoin, and then bifurcated into all these other things, is going to come back together and unify on Bitcoin again. What we're going to see is that instead of the unit account being the dollar, and instead of the network being a crypto exchange offshore, now the unit of account is going to be BTC. And the crypto network is going to be Bitcoin. And if you want a fast Bitcoin network, a fast payment network, it's not going to be a crypto exchange. It's not going to be a proof of stake token. It's going to be Lightning. And the gas is going to be Satoshis. And everything is going to anchor into Bitcoin. So this is a very painful time period for the crypto industry. And you can read it on the news. But it's a very expensive, painful, difficult, educational episode where people that believed in Bitcoin, but then went off to do all of their other altcoin experiments and crypto experiments, they're going to realize that there was a reason that you might want a censorship-resistant network that spit out a block every 10 minutes. They're going to realize that there's a reason for a mining network that spits out 400 exahash of digital power. They're going to realize that there's a benefit to working really long and hard for many, many years to do a Lightning type network. They're going to realize that these things they took for granted, they thought, we can just have our cake and eat it too. We can have a decentralized network that has the dollar as the unit of account. We can move the money at the speed of light for free. And we don't really need to use energy and mining ASICs and Bitcoin. And we don't have to pay for Bitcoin for gas. We'll just issue our own yo-yo coin and we'll use that for gas. Those people are going to realize that Bitcoin is the safe haven asset. Bitcoin is the risk-off asset. Bitcoin is the censorship-resistant network. Right? Bitcoin is the reserve asset of the ecosystem. And that means that as they lose confidence in their tokens, they're going to trade their tokens back into the reserve asset of the ecosystem, which is Bitcoin. When they lose confidence in an offshore or an onshore crypto exchange, they're going to trade back into Bitcoin. When they lose confidence, when they think that, well, that's not censorship resistant anymore, right? Those are all nation state captured networks. They're going to go back to Bitcoin. It's going to bring everybody back to their roots. And as people lose confidence in all of these other crypto ideas, which were meant to make Bitcoin better or fix Bitcoin, right? And I'll give people a benefit of the doubt. They're trying to fix Bitcoin, but they're taking shortcuts. Or maybe it was their business, right? I'm going to be in the business of trading Bitcoin, rehypothecating Bitcoin, hedging Bitcoin, creating competitors to Bitcoin, improving Bitcoin. That was their business. I think that they're going to realize that, in fact, the best idea always was to buy and hold Bitcoin, take the long view, And if you see an issue, if you see something that is suboptimal, like I want to pay for a cup of coffee in a split second for free, if you can't do that with Bitcoin, you don't reinvent the ecosystem. You go back and you focus on creating either a layer 2 or a layer 3 solution on top of Bitcoin, and you solve the problem via Lightning or solve the problem by a custodial Bitcoin wallet. And so ultimately, the capital in the crypto ecosystem is going to migrate from the other crypto assets to Bitcoin. As people lose confidence, as they get fearful about all these other crypto assets and crypto exchanges, they're going to go to the thing they know, the thing they trust.
And it's not just Michael Saylor saying that the capital is moving from all other crypto to Bitcoin. If you have not seen yesterday's video, we'll link it at the end of this video. Gareth and Ben say the Bitcoin dominance charts say the same. Liquidity is coming to Bitcoin not only from the trust retail investors are getting from the latest news about the ETFs and the agreements between the SEC and Binance, among others, but they are also selling other crypto to return to BTC. And what's happening next?
The exchanges will simplify. They will go from trading hundreds of tokens or thousands of tokens or tens of thousands of ideas, and they will simplify and they will consolidate. The ones that are going to last are going to focus on Bitcoin, right? They're going to realize that. The investors are going to realize they should focus on Bitcoin. The technologists, whatever their ideas, fast payments, DeFi, some token, any kind of security thing, they're going to focus on Bitcoin. They're going to focus on Bitcoin, Lightning. There'll be an explosion of interest in protocols. The VC are going to move over from crypto tokens, with Solana named as a security, with Cardano named as a security, with all these other 15, 20, 30 tokens named as securities. The VC in Silicon Valley are going to say, wow, what was that thing about Bitcoin? What was that, Lightning? You mean I can do this on Bitcoin with Satoshis? And you're going to see the VCs move over to Bitcoin and Lightning. You're going to see a renaissance of development on Bitcoin. You're going to see an acceleration of Lightning. You're going to see an expansion. And all of this is, in essence, a massive educational campaign to teach politicians the difference between Bitcoin and an ethical commodity and a security. And you can see it. It's like the senator says Bitcoin, the governor says Bitcoin, the congressperson says Bitcoin, the regulator says Bitcoin, 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 Bitcoin. And all of these lawsuits, and I have read thousands and thousands of pages. There's one word conspicuously missing from all of the thousands of pages. And that one word is Bitcoin. It's bumpy. It's a turbulent transition. It's a rationalization of the industry. The industry's growing up, but it's long-term good for Bitcoin. And I think you can expect a lot of the crypto bros that got distracted. Maybe they took off their laser eyes. Maybe they loved Bitcoin between 2010 and 2016. I think they're coming back to Bitcoin from 2023 to 2030. And you're going to see there's going to be an avalanche of people returning to the fold, building on top of Bitcoin, and they're going to rediscover the roots of the crypto revolution. Right? The whole idea of cryptography, decentralization, an asset without an issuer. Right? And that is what's going on right now. It's going to educate the politicians. It's going to educate the mainstream media. Watch CNBC. They get it. Watch Bloomberg. They get it. Read Wall Street Journal and New York Times. They get it. And so I follow all you guys on Twitter, and I remember when I first got in this space in 2020, people said, when will the mainstream media talk about us? Nobody talks about us. Nobody talks about Bitcoin. Nobody talks about any of this. And then for a while, they talked about a lot of stuff, and it was very confusing, and it was very scary, and it was unclear whether there's a difference between Bitcoin and FTT token. And now they're talking about us, but it's very clear, like Bitcoin is a commodity. There's other stuff is uncertain. right? And Andrew Ross Sorkin says, tell me what you think about Bitcoin. And so I think that this has been, it's a catalytic experience. It's cathartic for the crypto community. But meanwhile, Bitcoin is going to continue to motor forward. We have all of the people rehypothecating and shorting Bitcoin, they're all bankrupt. If you thought it was a good idea to loan your Bitcoin to someone so they could short it, you probably lost your Bitcoin. Everyone in the business of shorting Bitcoin, they're all fallen, right? Everybody that embraced the altcoins as being equal to Bitcoin, they're realizing that was a bad business idea. I think it takes a while for the market to work out these issues, but the law of thermodynamics will not be denied. And Bitcoin is the technically superior asset. It is the economically superior asset. And it is the ethically superior asset, and believe it or not, the vast majority of the disinterested population around the world will eventually, given enough time and information, realize that. And they are realizing that. And that's what's happening in front of your face. It's not pretty. It's not pleasant. But this is the way that Bitcoin rises above the noise and establishes its dominance as the world's greatest crypto asset network.
Why is Bitcoin emerging right now, according to Saylor? And why are people buying more Bitcoin instead of other assets like gold or real estate?
So Bitcoin is emerging, A, as digital gold. B, its proposition is gold is stronger than ever because gold has not performed at all in 2.5 years, and Bitcoin is beating every asset class in the same time period. So the gold hypothesis or thesis is much stronger. Bitcoin as digital property is much stronger. The idea that I could buy $1 million worth of Bitcoin and move it anywhere in the world is becoming appealing to people as they start to struggle with property taxes, and they know there's going to be an increase in tax over time. So Bitcoin has emerged as a digital commodity better than gold, as a digital property better than commercial real estate. It's emerging as an alternative to people that have seen their residential property monetized, and it's also emerging as a world's monetary index, because as the regulators differentiate between Bitcoin and everything else, right? As they hammer over and over and over again, Bitcoin is an asset without an issuer. It is unique. As that happens, right, the significance of Bitcoin being that green ticker in the lower right corner of a CNBC, television episode or newscast, or Bitcoin being at the top of the masthead of the Wall Street Journal every day, right? That's sending a message to the world. This is the world's global monetary index. In fact, this is the greatest of the world's global monetary indexes. And I think Bitcoin has successfully morphed from being speculative, scary, digital asset to legitimate monetary index, legitimate monetary asset everywhere in the world.
Right now, 5 types of people talk about Bitcoin, and Michael gives a brilliant explanation of all of them and why prices are changing, and we're moving into a fantastic future for everyone.
I think that if you get people to acknowledge that Bitcoin is an asset with a period, then Bitcoin 10x's from here. Like, we don't really have to conclude anything else. I have my hierarchy of investors. It's like a 5-part hierarchy. Okay, here are Bitcoin investors. There's the Bitcoin denier, like the Peter Schiff. Bitcoin is tulips. It doesn't exist. It's a scam, right? Ever. The Bitcoin deniers have actually been discredited, right? They've not got no credibility left. When the head of the CFTC, the SEC, the White House, Congress, Senate, the Treasury, the head of the central banks of Europe and the United States, when the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, when CNBC, when they all acknowledge Bitcoin as an asset, the deniers just look silly. So the deniers have kind of been silenced. Now you've got the skeptics. Skeptics are those that say, oh, Bitcoin, it's an asset. It may be digital gold. it's too good to be true, so the government will ban it. Follow me that again. It's really good. It's so good that the government's going to ban it. That's the skeptic, right? They're not denying. They're just saying, well, someone's going to take it away from you. Okay, well, that was a very loud refrain 3 years ago. And you heard that from bankers and from big investors. You've even heard it 2 years ago and 1 year ago. But if you're reading the 10,000 pages of lawsuits right now, and if you're looking what's going on in Congress and the Senate, it's pretty obvious they're not taking it away from you guys, right? At the end of the day, the one thing that the regulators everywhere in the world are trying to tell you is if you operate a crypto exchange, you can sell and buy Bitcoin. The skeptics are actually proven wrong as well. And now we move to the last three categories. The investor, the technocrat, and the maximalist. Investors are people that say, Bitcoin's a digital asset. I think maybe I'll buy some, maybe I'll short it. It's correlated to the NASDAQ. No, it's uncorrelated to the NASDAQ. No, it's negatively correlated to the NASDAQ. They're like traders, they change their mind, but if they acknowledge that it's something, then they need 1% of it. Okay, we're actually seeing a migration, and a lot of people are coming on board as investors and traders, and that's not a bad thing, that's a good thing. The technocrat is what I was with regard to Apple in 2009. If you'd asked me, I said, Apple's going to be a digital monopoly, a mobile monopoly. They're going to crush everybody. They're going to get 1 billion users. They're going to make huge amounts of money. The stock's going to go up by a factor of 10. Okay, if you believe that Microsoft is going to own the business software market and Google is going to own the search market and Apple's going to own the mobile market, then you're a technocrat, a techno investor. And pretty much every obscenely rich person that you know in this world was a technocrat. You know, the Mark Zuckerbergs, the Larry Pages, the Sergey Brins, the Steve Jobs, all of them, the Zuckerbergs, the Jeff Bezos of the world, they're technocrats, right? A lot of people made a lot of money being a technocrat. And so if you believe if you understand Bitcoin and you're a technocrat, what you say is, Bitcoin is the world's dominant digital monetary network. That's what Cathie Wood just said on CNBC just today to Andrew Ross Sorkin. She said, hey, it's the world's greatest global monetary network and the first, and it's going to go to $600,000 to $1 million a coin. That's our base case. Technocrat. And then she went on to say, yeah, we like Tesla. We like technology, right? That's okay. Those people are great. Warren Buffett eventually bought Apple Computer. Carl Icahn eventually bought Apple Computer, right? Those people, once they buy, they'll hold. I started out as a technocrat, and I think anybody that understands technology says, well, it's 95% of the proof of work in the world, maybe more. It's absolutely dominant. The next closest thing is 1%. So it doesn't take a stretch to say, Bitcoin is the digital monetary network destined to provide a digital monetary network to billions and billions and billions of people in the next 1 to 2 decades. And on that basis, it should go up by a factor of 100. But the last type of investor is the maximalist. Okay, and here's my definition of maximalist. Jack Dorsey said, Bitcoin is an instrument of economic empowerment. I heard those words. They stuck with me my entire life. When I first bought Bitcoin, I said, it's the world's greatest digital gold network. It's going to be better than Apple Computer. But when I heard Jack Dorsey speak, I said, Bitcoin is an instrument of empowerment for 8 billion people. It's an ethical good. It's a utilitarian entitlement to all 8 billion people in the world. It gives property rights, it gives freedom, it gives a hope of sovereignty. That's a little bit better than the value proposition of Apple, Google, Facebook, Amazon, and Microsoft.
If you still have questions about how crypto is bleeding into Bitcoin and how most altcoins will lose their value, watch this video now and pay attention to Gareth and Ben's predictions. Thanks.